Welcome and good morning everyone. So today we are going to discuss on the cell-mediated immunity, which is also known as the cell-mediated immune response. So what is cell-mediated immunity? It is the branch of adaptive immunity that involves in the activation of cytotoxic T cells which defend against infected cells. Something to say, the primary goal in this cell-mediated immunity is to get your cytotoxic T cells activated. And when your cytotoxic T cells are activated, that particular cell defends your body against infected cells, right? Other than infected cells, to be more precisely here is intracellular pathogens. This branch of adaptive immunity protects your body against intracellular pathogens. Now, as what we have discussed in the humoral immune response, and if you recall in the humoral immune response, helper T cells are being activated first. The same goes here in the cell-mediated immunity. The helper T cells must be activated also, right? And from the activation of the helper T cells, if you recall in the humoral, the B cell can be activated. Now, the same goes in this cell-mediated immunity. The cytotoxic T cells can be activated two ways: by receiving interleukin 2 from the activated helper T cell, right? Or when this cytotoxic T cells itself, right, the naive cytotoxic T cells bind with the antigen MHC class 1 complex on the surface of the infected cells. Dua cara how cytotoxic T cells can be activated in this cell-mediated immunity, in contrast with the B cell. If you recall, the B cell must be activated. The B cells can only be activated after the B cell bind with the epitopes, the epitopes of the pathogen, and the B cell must receive interleukin 2 from the activated helper T cell, while the cytotoxic T cell can be activated either by receiving interleukin 2 from the activated helper T cell, or by bind with the antigen or epitopes of the infected cells, right? Antigen MHC class 1 of the infected cells. Apakah beza dia? B cell untuk dia activate, dia ada dua syarat. Yang cytotoxic T cell pula untuk dia activate is either dapat interleukin 2 daripada activated helper T cell, ataupun cytotoxic T cell itu sendiri bind dengan epitopes antigen MHC class 1 complex daripada infected cells tu. Alright, now from the definition of the cell-mediated immunity, it can be further explained. Alright, the cell-mediated immunity is a type of specific immune response carried out by T cells, right? T cells. When it's been mentioned T cells here, it involves your helper T cells, involve your cytotoxic T cells, involve your suppressor T cells, involve your regulator T cells as well. But we won't be discussing on the role of the suppressor and regulator T cells here. We'll be focusing on the role of the helper T cell and the cytotoxic T cells. So again, type of specific immune response carried out by T cells and APCs. Right, the APC here refer to the dendritic cells and macrophages only. B cells langsung tidak terlibat di sini, right? Now, the cell-mediated immunity protects the body from all pathogens such as protozoa, fungi, virus, cancer cells, macrophages that have ingested smart bacteria, and intracellular pathogens such as virus infected body cells. Okay. Now, this smart bacteria means these are the bacteria that somehow able to escape, right, the destruction by the lysosome of the macrophage by hiding in the macrophage cytoplasm. So meaning to say, when this macrophage engulf, okay, the bacteria, this pathogenic bacteria, by right, the lysosome inside the macrophage will digest that bacteria. Okay, the lysosome, okay, will act on that particular bacteria. Okay, and if you recall in same one, this lysosome, right, how this lysosome digests, right, bacteria, okay, is through its enzymes, its digestive enzymes. Okay, and this digestive enzyme of these lysosomes, commonly known as lysosomal enzymes. Boleh faham? Macrophage engulf bacteria or pathogen, right? Once inside the cytoplasm of the macrophage, the lysosome, okay, the lysosome will secretes enzymes on that ingested or phagocytosized bacteria. But somehow there are some bacteria able to evade the lysosomes once the bacteria was already phagocytosized or engulfed by the macrophage. So this group of bacteria, we refer them as smart bacteria, right? So smart bacteria ni, okay, yang di dalam macrophage tu masih tidak boleh escape daripada cell-mediated immunity. Somehow the cytotoxic T cells are able to identify this macrophage, okay, has smart bacteria, right? So meaning to say there is or they are intracellular pathogens inside this macrophage. So the cytotoxic T cell will apparently or eventually destroy that particular macrophage. Okay. Now, the cell-mediated immunity reacts against transplants, right, or organ transplants by destroy the cells of the foreign graft. Organ transplants, right, has cells of foreign graft, okay, cells that do not belong from your body, okay, non-self cells. And the cell-mediated immunity provides immunity against cancer. Okay. Now, let's discuss on the mechanism of the cell-mediated immunity. Alright, so please take note, like what I mentioned earlier, there are two things here. Right, activation of the helper T cells and activation of the cytotoxic T cells. And as what I mentioned earlier again, the cytotoxic T cells can be activated either by receiving interleukin 2 from the activated helper T cell or by binding with the antigen class 1 MHC complex on the infected cells. Okay, so now let's go from the top here. Alright, first things first, the pathogens, alright, that invade the body is engulfed by macrophage or dendritic cell or APC, right, antigen presenting cell. Now, this APC will display the antigen class 2 MHC complex on its surface. You can see from here, right? Next, the helper T cell will come by, right? And then the helper T cell receptors will bind with this antigen class 2 MHC complex, right, which is on the surface of the APC. This will promote, okay, the APC to secrete interleukin 1, okay, interleukin 1 to the helper T cell, while this helper T cell will secrete interleukin 2. Okay, the interleukin 2 is being secreted to itself. I mean the helper T cell secretes interleukin 2 to itself. Okay, interleukin 2 tu dikeluarkan, disekret oleh helper T cell untuk diri dia sendiri. Okay, untuk diri dia sendiri. Okay, so APC secretes interleukin 1 to the helper T cell the helper T cell secretes interleukin 2 to itself. So here cell signaling takes place, okay, via the cytokines secreted by both cells. Next, the interleukin 1 from the APC and the interleukin 2 from the helper T cell, right, will activate the helper T cell. Now, this activated helper T cell will increase in size and divide by mitosis. Okay, you can see this activated helper T cell increase in size and then divide by mitosis. Next, the helper T cell will proliferate, right, or undergoes clonal expansion, right? You can see the clonal expansion process here, and differentiate to form or to produce, okay, clone of competent helper T cells. Now, this clone of competent helper T cells, also known as effector helper T cells or active helper T cells and memory T cells. Okay, benda ni pun sama juga seperti apa yang telah berlaku di humoral immune response. Right? Okay, next. Some of the helper T cell, right, the active helper T cell or some of the effector helper T cells, okay, will migrate to the site of infection. Now, because at the site of the infection, right, some of these pathogens, it will travel through your bloodstream to the other parts of your body. So you can imagine that this occurs at the other parts of the body. So the activated helper T cell will travel, all right, to the site of infection. And please remember, please do take note, at the site of infection, this process also happens. Okay. So now, at the site of the infection, right, the activated helper T cell will release interleukin 2, right? This helper T cell will release interleukin 2, okay, that will act on other T cells as well as macrophages. Okay, now I mentioned this interleukin 2 from the activated helper T cells act on other T cells. So those other T cells are cytotoxic T cells, regulator T cells, right, as well as suppressor T cells. Okay, now we focus on the cytotoxic T cells. So the cytotoxic T cells, right, which is at the site of the infection, are activated by binding on the antigen class 1 MHC complex on the surface of the infected cells, or by receiving the interleukin 2 from the helper T cells. Next, this activated cytotoxic T cells will increase in size and divide by mitosis. So apparently, the cytotoxic T cells undergoes the same mechanism with the helper T cells. Okay, once they are being activated, where these cells will increase in size and divide by mitosis. Okay, and then the cytotoxic T cells will proliferate or undergoes clonal expansion, not shown in this diagram, right? And then differentiate to produce clone of competent cytotoxic T cells, right? This clone of competent cytotoxic T cells are also known as effector cytotoxic T cells or active cytotoxic T cells, right? And as well as we have the memory cytotoxic T cells. So these activated cytotoxic T cells, right, will bind on the antigen class 1 MHC complex on the surface of infected cells, right, and then releases perforin molecules which form pores on the surface of the infected cell membrane. Now, this Activated cytotoxic T cells also secretes granzymes. Okay, granzymes. Granzymes is an enzyme that break down proteins. So the granzymes will enter the infected cell by endocytosis. So sini ada dua benda yang berlaku ni. Activated cytotoxic T cells, dia bind dengan antigen class 1 MHC complex on the surface of the infected cell. Betul kan? And then the activated cytotoxic T cells, right, will releases perforin molecules and granzymes towards that infected cells. So infected cells tu akan terima granzymes dan perforin. So the perforin, again, like what I mentioned earlier, will form pores on the surface of the infected cell membrane, while the granzymes, okay, will enter the infected cell by endocytosis. So what will happen after that? Water and ions will rush in to the infected cell and leads to the lysis of the infected cells. So the infected cells are destroyed. Bye-bye. Okay. So now, what happened to the memory helper T cell and memory cytotoxic T cell? So this memory, right, helper T cell and cytotoxic T cells are used for rapid response towards secondary infection. So macam mana tu? Okay. Alright, di sini. So bila ada lagi, alright, secondary infection, what happen? The memory cytotoxic T cells, right? The memory cytotoxic T cells, it will undergoes proliferation and differentiate into activated cytotoxic T cell and memory cytotoxic T cells again. Okay, and then that activated cytotoxic T cell will straight away bind with the epitopes of the infected. This activated cytotoxic T cell will straight away bind with the antigen class 1 MHC complex, right, on the infected body cells. Okay, and then the memory cytotoxic T cells will get ready for will be kept in the body for a rapid response if another infection occurs in the future, right? Okay, so we can summarize, okay, the humoral and cell-mediated immune response in this diagram, right? Both type of adaptive immunity needs the interleukin-2 from the helper T cell, right? And each time these helper T cells are activated, this helper T cell, okay, we produce active helper T cell as well as memory helper T cells. Okay, and then this helper T cell will secrete interleukin-2 to activate the B cell as well as to activate the cytotoxic T cells. Okay, now once activated, this B cell will undergoes clonal expansion, okay, and differentiate into plasma cells and memory B cells, while the cytotoxic T cells again undergoes clonal expansion, all right, and differentiate into memory cytotoxic T cells and clones of active cytotoxic T cells. Okay, and when there is another secondary infection, these memory B cells, all right, in the humoral immune response, these memory B cells will straight away proliferate and differentiate into plasma cells and memory B cells again. And then the plasma cells that came from this memory B cell will straight away secrete antibody. Okay. Alright, so that's it for today's lesson. Okay, thank you. Bye.